before I got there. And I remember talking it over with Bill. And I said, now, wherever I coach, the rules are going to be important. And I think that's what he wanted too. And so that's how I got started with both of them.
The rules and your kids going to class. I went to Indiana University, so I guess I should have started with that in the interview. But I know that in big lecture halls, the only attendance that was taken in classes that I was in were your players.
Yeah, they're scared to death. They're damn right. They didn't want to face me having cut class.
I know you're a goal maker. What were your goals going into your start there at Indiana?
Well, I'm not sure there was anybody in the state of Indiana before I went there that could play defense. I don't think there's a person in Indiana that could play defense.
That ever put on the red and white.
That could have even spelled the word.
And so you show up there, and you're talking about defense. You've got this motion offense. It wasn't a high-flying offense. This wasn't something where the scoreboard's lighting up like a pinball machine. But in year two, in March of '73, you end up in the Final Four. I mean, year two, you've got this Big Ten school, and you're still a young guy in the Final Four, and you face the great UCLA Bruins and John Wooden.
Well, I've never been a Wooden fan. You know,
now that's like almost heresy.
And not to me, it isn't. You know, Wooden had a guy named Sam Gilbert. Are you familiar with that name?
Yes.
I'm glad you are.
I am.
And
he kind of did the dirty work.
Not kinda.
Okay.
Sam Gilbert was the #1 recruiter for UCLA. I have a lot of respect for Wooden as a coach, how he coached. He was a good coach. But from then on, I don't mind saying it, I don't respect Wooden because he allowed Sam Gilbert to do whatever it took to recruit kids. And one time he told me, he said, I just didn't know how to deal with Sam Gilbert. And I'm saying to myself, well, I damn sure should have dealt with him. And personally, I like John, you know, as a person. But the whole UCLA, it isn't just John, it's a whole UCLA approach to recruiting. I think that John was called in and told he didn't have to worry about recruiting, that they had people that would take care of that for him. And that's coming from people that really know the circumstances.
So for you to get to that position in year two, in the Final Four is a tremendous accomplishment considering where Indiana was before you showed up. I mean, that's got to be, of all the things that you've accomplished in your career, I mean, getting that program propped up in such a short amount of time is incredible.
Well, I'll tell you, it could not have even come close to being done without the players that I inherited. And it may have taken a little while, a year or so, to get them to play the way I wanted to, but you had Joby Wright and Steve Downing, and I could go on and on with those kids that I inherited. And I was always really fond of those kids because they had to accept a different way of playing. It wasn't winning 98 to 96. It wasn't run and gun. It was, hey, let's stop people from scoring.
Was it a tough sell to the fans at first?
No, I mean, they're used to 150 to 149 or something. I mean, yeah,
and now
sure.
You're talking about defense.
It was a tough thing. I mean, but you know, winning supplants a lot of things that are good. And I think in this situation, it was like, well, we're winning.
In 1975, you guys are undefeated, going into the tournament. You're ranked #1. You get to the Elite Eight, and Kentucky takes you down.
Yes.
What did that loss do to you, to the team?
Well, you know, we were the best team in the country basically throughout the course of the year, and we happened to get beat. And when we lost a game, now there were some games that I didn't hesitate to tell our team, we got beat by a better team tonight.
That's why, am I right in saying there are some times that you would lose and you'd be okay with the effort and the execution, as opposed to sometimes you might win and not execute, not give the effort that you were looking for, and be more upset than you were losing a game?
You know, you're absolutely right. I never took a sloppy win for granted. You know, I was as irritated by a sloppy win as I was for a loss. I didn't think there was much difference, except on the scores table. You know, you've won one more game, but my whole point was, as a coach with any team that I ever coached, was here's what I believe you can do. I don't care what you think you can do or what your parents think you can do. Here is what I think you can do, and if you'll do this, we're going to win. And that's been pretty much the way that it's gone throughout my career in coaching.
What does a national championship mean to you? I mean, you'd been there as a player. You had seen it at Ohio State. You'd also been there and lost it at Ohio State. You had this great team in '75 leading into '76. It's got to be so close you can just feel it.
College basketball is one of the great things. Hopefully, and I'm not sure this is the case, but hopefully you're mostly dealing with students or kids who want to graduate. You know, that's what I wanted.
I mean, you think of them first as students more than your players. They're students. Whether it was your mom's influence as your second grade teacher, you thought of yourself, and I'm sure you still do to some degree, as a teacher, right?
Well, let's put it this way. I thought that I had two things that I was responsible for as a coach. Number one, and most important, was that the kids that played would get a degree. The kids that played would have an opportunity to get into the world. And that was, I think, more important than winning games. And that was awfully important.